Jai Janendra friends, and welcome to JCM Kids Advanced Learning Program. My name is Deval Vora and I am member at large for JCM Committee 2020. Today is session 3 of this program, and past two sessions have been great fun and good success with filled with lots of learning. Uh, we have had good participations. Thanks to all your participation of around 100 plus in each of this session. We have had good feedback from parents and also some inquiries like how to purchase the demo kits. So I hope these sessions are keeping your summer time filled with exciting activities which would help you learn and grow your skills and knowledge. For the past session, I would like to thank JCM Youth, Devanshu Shah, Rishabh, Priyansh, Mayank, and Anoki. I would like to also thank our presenters, Dr. Jimil Shah and Kumar Sambhav. Also thanks to our backend team, Pranesh, Jain, and Saurabh Gandhi. So friends, from our last session, I hope all of you must have now have our little arrow model flying around. And you would be now wondering what is coming up in today's session. So, what is language? Language is a means of communication. But how would a machine communicate, or how would you communicate with machine? Uh, does machine communicate, or does machine use a language? Uh, does machine understand a language? Which language does it understand? Is it English, or is it Spanish, or Gujarati, or Hindi? Oh no, machines have their own language. So hold on to your curiosity on how they communicate. All these will be answered shortly in today's session. So let's get started with our today's coding day. I would like to introduce our today's team for today's session. Uh, we will first start with Benefits of Programming by Devanshu Bhavin Shah. Then we'll go for Programming Fundamentals and Concepts by Nidhi Vinit Gandhi. Then we will have a Drawing and Coloring session by Anoki Bhavin Shah. Next is Coding Concepts and How a Variable is Used by Priyansh Saurabh Gandhi. Then we have a nice use case of coding. So one of the best use case is animation. I hope everyone here likes animated movies. So animation will be taken by Mayank Rajpal Jain, and then followed by today's quiz uh, by Rishabh Vikram Jain. So let's start with today's session. Also, friends, I would like to sincerely request all of you to keep yourself mute during the whole session. Please do not unmute yourself, and if you have any issues, please put it on the chat window. We'll take care of it. Thank you.
Hello and Jai Janendra everyone, I'm Devanshu. Today we're going to learn about coding. Coding is used every day, everywhere. We use code in places like traffic signals, the device that you're using right now, and even air conditioners and heaters nowadays. Code is a sequence of commands that a machine follows to perform a certain task. For example, do you guys remember in the winter when we had to put on our winter gear? We had to follow a certain sequence to put on our winter gear. We couldn't put on our boots before our snow pants because then our snow pants wouldn't fit. Likewise, in coding, you have to follow a sequence. I just wanted to show you an example of the code that I learned, and it's one of the most basic coding languages called HTML. There are other languages that you can also learn like JavaScript and Python, but I'm just going to show you some HTML. And so this is my real web page, and it's an actual web page, so it's cool, but I can just type something like welcome and maybe have fun because you have to have fun. and the text comes on. So that's really cool and it's really fun. I started simple coding when I was in second grade, and it teaches you many things like logical reasoning, problem solving, and creativity. It also teaches you skills like perseverance and patience because your code doesn't always work. You might be feeling very overwhelmed right now, and you probably have a lot of questions. So, you need to have a basic knowledge of math and science, so keep studying those. And I'm super excited to learn more about coding today from my other friends. And before I go, one last thing. We are all the wizards of the future. We can make magic with our coding. Thank you.
Jai Center. My name is Nidhi Danley and I'm 13 years old. I go to Wayzata Central Middle School and I'm going to 8th grade. I love to paint and do art, and I also love to code. Coding has been one of my favorite things since my dad has introduced it to me. I love creating something out of nothing. I started coding on Scratch because I love animations and I love creating things, but it was also really simple for a beginner to understand. Then I moved on to Python because it was also simple, but it was a little more challenging and a little more complex. Learning programming languages isn't as important as learning what programming is for and understanding why it's there. I think you can learn languages from other professionals, but I also think that the most important thing that I can teach you is what programming is. It's time I show you the lesson.
Let's get started. First off, what is a computer program? Computer programs are used everywhere these days, from your Xbox to your microwave. Phones, washing machines, cars, these are all devices we use all the time. Fun, creative, and a challenging way to learn. There are almost 700 coding languages, but why are there so many? How are we supposed to learn all of them? Well, we're not. Memorizing and understanding code are two very different things. To understand code, you need to understand what its purpose is. Code, in a nutshell, is a language that computers understand. Electronic devices need a step-by-step understanding of what they're being told to do. You can't say something in Hindi or Gujarati or Latin to someone who only speaks English. Think about this. You have a robot in your kitchen and you say to it, "Make a sandwich." The robot can't just make a sandwich. You need to tell it what to do, such as take out a slice of bread, then set it on the plate, then find the tomatoes. These instructions are simple, but put together they tell the computer to do something complex. This is why programming looks so hard, but once we break it down, you'll realize that it's just a process of first this, then this. This here is a turtle, and this is my version of a turtle. It's sort of upside down and doesn't make much sense, but you can imagine. It's a very simple turtle that I drew with a coding language called Python Turtle, yet it needs a lot of coding. All of this tells the computer to draw a circle, then another circle, and so on. Even squares take more than one line of code. The point is, because computers can't think for themselves like humans can, they need very precise instructions. Why do we need computer programming? Well, the world is constantly changing, turning into something new. Phones used to be big and clunky with no buttons and no games. Now we have smooth, portable phones with big screens and Candy Crush. Change can often be for the better, and by learning coding, we can create something out of nothing. If there was no such thing as programming, we wouldn't have most of the stuff we do now. We can learn a lot from it. Not only can we learn and make new stuff, we don't have to do simple tasks anymore. We used to play with planes, but now we can use remote-controlled drones of all sorts. There are a lot of gadgets made for us. Communications, games, all sorts of things are made easier to access. Technology is important because if you didn't have a device, you wouldn't be able to watch this right now. We wouldn't have been able to have e-learning over the last few months of school if computer programming wasn't a thing. If we didn't have the TV, we wouldn't know about the world news. Technology is also important to our future. I mean, tomorrow you could have a Zoom meeting with friends, or during school, we might still be using e-learning. This way, programming different apps and codes can lead to bigger things, like the entire internet, and this keeps us connected, help our problem-solving skills. When we write a code and something doesn't work, we can figure out exactly what went wrong and how to fix it. By doing this, we're improving our skills, and this helps us become smarter people. As I've said before, there are over 700 coding languages. There are also many different types. Python, Java, and those kind of code languages are not the same as Python, Turtle, C++, or such. Python Turtle can draw things for you, like that turtle I made that doesn't really look like a turtle, but it doesn't do much. Python, on the other hand, you can interact with it. This means you can write code using the app or game you've made can use it. This right here is a little bit of Python. It's pretty simple and only a few lines long. On the right-hand side, the darker side, the code allows you to type in what it wants. For instance, it asks for a name, and when you type it in, the code is programmed to tell you, hello name. With Python, you can create apps, games, like Simon says, and even code websites. Python isn't the only language that can do that. There are a ton of cool programming languages like Java, Basic, and the C languages. Java can work easily in any different kind of machine, like your phone or Amazon Alexa. Basic is easier to understand and simpler. The C languages are more efficient, which means they work faster and better, but it's a lot harder because it works deeper inside the computer. Thank you for watching. I hope this helped you learn something about computer programming and increased your interest in coding.
Here are some programs that I made in Python that you can too. This program is a fortune teller. It's basically a magic 8-ball. You can ask it questions and it replies yes or no. This is one of the things that you can do in your free time. I like to program just for fun. Programming is fun, and if you have any questions on how you can get started, you can contact me.
Jai Janindra. My name is Anoki, and today we'll be doing coding with Khan Academy Hour of Code. I'll be teaching you guys how to draw shapes and color them using code. So to draw this snowman, the first shape we're going to need is going to be an ellipse. An ellipse is a regular oval shape. So the numbers in the brackets that you see on the first ellipse, 200, 300, 150, and 150, are X, Y, W, and H. X is the x-axis, Y is the y-axis, W is width, and H is height. The x-axis starts here and goes to here. Starts at 0 and goes to 400. The y-axis starts here and goes to here, starting at 0 and also ending at 400. The width is how wide your circle is, and the height is how high your circle is. So I made 3 different ellipses. You have to remember to put a semicolon after each line to make sure that command shows up on your canvas. The next thing was I made eyes. I used an ellipse, again, and I put in my parameters. Then I copied and pasted onto the next line. I use this number scrubbing tool to adjust each number. Then I made another ellipse for the mouth. The mouth is a little wider, so it is not a perfect circle. That's why the width and the height are different, unlike the other ellipses. Next, I made 3 buttons. I copied and pasted the one ellipse I had made for the one button and adjusted using number scrubbing. The last ellipse I made was for the sun, which is right here. Then I used a new shape, a rectangle, and used the command rect. This also uses X, Y, W, and H, the x-axis, y-axis, the width, and the height. But unlike the ellipse, which the point is in the middle of the circle, the rectangle's point is right in the upper left-hand corner. Then I used another new shape called a line. The parameters of this are different since a line cannot have width and height. Instead, the parameters are x1, y1, x2, and y2. x1 is the first point on the x-axis, y1 is the first point on the y-axis, x2 is the second point on the x-axis, and y2 is the second point on the y-axis. I copied and pasted and used number scrubbing again to adjust each line. Then I was getting a little confused by which ellipse and which shape is which. So I use this trick called commenting. What you do is you put 2 slashes and then you write your comment. This is only for the humans to know which is which. The computer will not care about this comment. The next thing I did was I wanted to add some color. So first I added color in the background by using the background command. These numbers here are not the height and the width and the X and Y. Instead, this is something called the RGB value, which is red, green, blue. This tells you how much red, how much blue, and how much green is in a color. It's sometimes tricky to know how much of each color is in one color. So they give you a box where you can adjust the color to your choice. The number 255 is the max and number 0 is the lowest you can use in the RGB value. I wanted to add color to the other shapes as well, but I couldn't use the background command. I had to use a command called fill. I wanted to make my rectangle, which is right here, a white rectangle. And the RGB value for white is 255, 255, 255. Everything after fill will also become white. So I had to change the fill again when I wanted my eyes to be black. I also had to change it when I wanted my mouth to be red. The fill will be default red, so if you can adjust it. Then I needed again to make my buttons black, and then again to make my sun yellow. But then I also wanted to make the lines, which were the snowman's arms, brown like sticks. I could not use fill because this was something called a stroke. So instead, I had to adjust this thickness using something called stroke weight. If I didn't have stroke weight, the arms would look like this. But once I add the stroke weight, I can adjust the thickness. Then I couldn't use a fill command again because it was a stroke. So I had to write the stroke command and then change the color accordingly for the line. As you can see, there's still some black outline on the snowman, but not on the other things. This is because I used the no stroke command before the rectangle and everything under that had no stroke or no black outline. But I needed it on my snowman because I wanted my snowman to pop. So I had to write the stroke command again and change it to black, with the RBG value for black is 0, 0, 0. Then again, I wanted no stroke around my sun. So before the sun ellipse, I wrote no stroke. Then because already the stroke command was there, it did not get rid of the stroke on the line. So this is how you make shapes using code and color them. Thank you.
Jai Jinendra. Hello everyone, I am Priyansh Gandhi and today I will be showing you guys how to code on JavaScript. We use JavaScript for lots of things. Like when you are making a website, you use JavaScript to get more in, not to make it look really cool, but lots for text, for lots of text and other things as like drop down menus and things like that. The things that are more interactive. So you could see I have this really cool coding thing that I've created is where our sun grows bigger to going. So before I get more into this, which could be blowing your minds right now, but let's start from the basics. So you want to have, so the first thing you want to know is how wide and tall the screen is. The screen in JavaScript will always be the X goes like this, X goes across the screen, and Y goes like this. So the X position, so this is 0, where my cursor is right here, like right on the edge, all the way to 400 on this side. And it's same here, this is where Y0 is, and this is where 400 is. So then you might be seeing that I have used these codes here, and what do they mean? Let's start off with the basic code called ellipse. An ellipse is something that you write and, like to make a circle, an ellipse, like kind of like an oval, like you would see an ellipse being like an oval. So you can make a circle or oval out of it, a kind of a round shape. And you might be wondering what these two things are next to it. These two things here mean the X and Y position. But then what is with the sun size here? The sun size is basically we don't always write sun size. We used a variable right here, which I will go more into later, but we usually have to write a width and a height. So if the width and the height for a circle or for an ellipse are the same, it automatically makes a circle like this. And you can make the size of, like as I said, from 0 to 400 for both width and height, and which is really, really big. Though that would make a really big thing. So I have used 30 for my starting sun. It is 30 width and 30 height, and then soon it starts growing. And I'll get more into how it grows, but let's go into another code that we don't have here but would be really cool if we did. Is here, I'll just write it here, is a rect, and we use it as this, and it also has, you might be seeing X and Y here that we have to type in. We have to write in X and Y, width and height, and you might be seeing a radius. The radius is optional. The radius, what it does is basically round the rectangle's edges. So so the rectangle is more like this. And that's weird. That's why it's optional. So you might want to make a perfect rectangle. But most importantly, what lots of people miss is that at the end of your code, you must always use a semicolon. This is a semicolon. The semicolon ends the code as a period ends a sentence in English. Now let's go more into the things surrounding it. Like, let's start from the top here. No stroke is something that you might be seeing that our sun isn't outlined with any kind of line or anything. A no stroke basically removes the line, and if you were to write a stroke command, wait, I spelled it wrong. Capitalization and things like that are really important in here. And we have Z, I was going to make that stroke like that. You can have numbers in here also to get a kind of color of what kind of stroke you want, what kind of outline you want on your like sun here. We might want like a red outline maybe if you want a red outline. Then we also have the draw. Then let's go more into the background. So the background's a basic code. It just in here what I'm using Khan Academy makes it easier for you to use that because these three colors are the perfect three mixtures that add up to this kind of shade. And you might have heard this before, RGB, which is red, green, blue. And these all are like the mixtures of red, green, and blue. This is how much red we used, this is how much green we used, and this is how much blue we used. And these all add up to somewhere around 600. Close to 600, 500. And they're always like the amount of like paint you've added in to make the color. Next, you might be noticing how I got these notes on here, which are, so it's quite easy. You might be noticing these two things. It's like, kind of like, how do I say it? It's more like just these slashes that you add to make a note to yourself is like background color light blue. Like that. You can make a note to yourself so you know when you want to fix things. You want to know what code is for what. Like here I have the beautiful blue sky. This is for the beautiful blue sky. And then this one is for the sun. A little circle on the horizon. This is for the sun. And this is the land we have here, the green part. So now you might be wondering how we made the circle grow. But before we get more into that, there's one more code, two more actually. Two more key-sized codes that you will be using lots in is fill. Basically is a color. Like we have filled the land green to make it more like grass and landy. And then the sun is into yellow. So the sun is yellow, and we have more. So you can have it, and then you can also have. So the crazy thing about fill is that the fill will fill everything to be yellow if I don't have another fill sign after. So when I write the fill, it will basically take all of this as a fill. The computer will fill every code I've put here as a fill. So unless if I write a fill or a command, I can add down here called no fill. Something like that. It's kind of like a no stroke, as I said. It's a no fill. So it just basically stops the fill there and then goes on to normal. Kind of like a white shade that they have. Next, we have the final code before I teach you guys the ultimate way how to make the sun grow. The ultimate way before that, we have a really important thing, which is variable. VAR for short, var. Like, you know, VAR. It's basically, it stands for variable. VAR stands for variable. And a variable, you might be seeing, like after this I have wrote sun size. And then now what a variable is really cool about is once you write the variable, it doesn't just turn blue, but it also makes this word become magical. It makes this word equal the amount of 30. So when I put it in sun size here, the computer automatically generates it to being 30. And so now we have the 30 width and 30 height here. And then we have more of that, which I will go into next. So that's most on variables, but how I made the sun grow here, let's look at the sun growing again. It's amazing. The sun grows, and keeps growing. So this, what I've used here is kind of It's like when I put in sun size, so sun size equals sun size plus 1, basically is telling the code to add one pixel to sun size every second. So once you write plus 1, it adds 1 pixel per second to it. But what if we want to add 2 pixels at a time? So then let's do it. It goes much faster. But as our quiz here wants us to do it only once, so let's only have it once. And now you might be wondering, what is this draw function that I've not told you guys yet? Which is really, so you might be wondering that this code has to repeat again and again if you want, like the sun, like it will disappear, it will grow once and then it will disappear since the semicolon is there to show it. But the draw function basically makes things repeat again and again and again to as long as it takes. Well, the code is still running. It hasn't stopped yet. But when we click the button restart, it comes back down and starts over again. But the code doesn't stop once you write draw function. So everything inside draw function here is everything that keeps repeating. But you might be wondering why I haven't added these things, because we don't want the variable coming up again and again and again. We just want a variable is just used like that, and you want to make sure. So once you write draw function like this, you want to have this kind of the cool kind of parentheses, open and close in between it. You want to copy and paste all your codes except for your var and like your no stroke things, and once you paste in like all your background, your sun and the land and everything, it keeps repeating and it keeps showing up, so you don't have to keep writing it again and again and again, which is really helpful. As I mentioned, our code is still running. Poor guy never gets some kind of rest. So now let's move on to our next one we have is here. Wait just a second. You might not have gotten to see it yet. I will restart that. It's a sun, so it's a cloudy day, and suddenly the sun moves all the clouds and the sun grows big again. Yeah. So you might be wondering, well, I've made this one much bigger, but it's not much here. So I made the sun grow by 2 pixels, but you might be wondering what sun radius plus equal to. This is a shortcut. Let me highlight that. This is a shortcut to write that you will want to add, it's just like, you don't want to always write too much, so you can always use shortcuts. And this way, I forgot to mention, you can also minus pixels. If you minus pixels, the thing will go this way. If you add pixels, I mean the opposite. So the left x is the left cloud. So the left cloud will go like this if you minus 1, since 0 is this way. And if you add 1 to the right x, which is the right cloud, it will go this way because 400 is this way. So it'll keep adding and it go this way. And that's mostly for the shortcut. And again, soon this will seem to you guys like, whoa, that actually isn't much once you guys have lots of practice. And this is like the basic answer to how people make really good animation movies, like you guys might have seen. Next, I have been working on this really cool project called Shooting Stars. I haven't submitted it yet, but I bet everyone can do it. It's a shooting star that goes like that. Yeah, you might have seen it. Shoot. So it's going up in the sky. It was like right there, and it's still going, but off the screen now that we can't see. That was such a great time with you guys. I hope you guys learned a lot more in JavaScript coding, and I will hope that you guys continue to do more. Bye.
Hi, my name is Mayank Jain. I am in 7th grade and I go to Valley View Middle School. I'm going to be giving you a tutorial on this basic animation. Let's look at it. Okay, the first step is to get your own Scratch account if you don't have one. Then, create your own project. Let me move this right over here. When you're in the Scratch interface, you're going to see 3 sections: code, costumes, and sound. We're going to only be using motion, looks, sound, events, and control when in the code section. But let's start with getting some costumes or sprites or characters. So over here there are 2 characters. These are the default characters. We are going to need 2 more characters. So search up cat and you will find cat flying A and cat flying B. Add both of them to your costumes inventory. Wait, I accidentally put in the wrong one. Let me get the other one again. Okay, now we have all our costumes. Let's start programming. So, in the programming section, you want to go to events and get a when flag is clicked button. Then go to looks and see if you can find the switch costume and switch backdrop block. So we want 2 switch costume blocks and 1 switch backdrop block. And if you don't know what backdrops are, they're basically the background. Speaking of those, we will need some backgrounds. So click on the backdrop button right over here. Go click on the backdrop button and then go to backdrop, click on it, and then choose the blue sky and galaxy backgrounds. And then delete backdrop 1 because we don't need it. Okay, nice. Now click back onto the sprite and you can see that we have all of these blocks that we just added. So first get the switch backdrop block and connect it to the when green flag is clicked and make it switch backdrop to blue sky. Then take one of the costume blocks and make it switch costume to costume 2. And then take the final costume block and make it switch costume to cat flying B. Now let's go to the motion section and get the go to XY button and change X to -183 and -114. Then go to the control section and get the repeat 10 times block. This is a block where you can put other blocks in between it. Now go to the looks and get another switch costume block, 2 switch costume blocks, 2 wait buttons. This one accidentally connected. And then 1 move 10 steps block. Now let's put it all together. Put the switch costume block in, and make it switch costume to costume 2. Then take the wait 1 second button and then click on the 1 and make it 0.3 seconds. And then take the other switch costume block and make it switch costume to cat A or costume 1. Then take the move 10 steps button, add that one, and also add the move 0.1 seconds block. Now go back to looks and get the switch costume button, and it should say switch costume to cat flying B. Then go to the motion section and get 3 glide 1 seconds to XY, 3 of them, and connect all of them, though we are going to have to change the X and Y coordinate. And make X, for the first one, make X -38 and make Y -83. For the second one, make it 9 for X and -4 for Y. And for the third one, make it 126 and 127. Nice. So now let's go to looks and get one switch backdrop and one switch costume. And it should say switch backdrop to Galaxy and switch costume to Cat Flying A. And if it doesn't say that, you can change it. Now go to the motion section and get a glide 1 seconds to XY and make it X 222 and Y 122. And go to sounds and get the start sound block and click it. And it should say start sound meow. And if you want to, you can control how loud, fast, slow, faded, or robotic it is. Now let's see how this looks. Perfect. As you can see, this animation looked very simple, but it had lots of code in it. Alright, let's make this animation. So I already went onto Scratch and I just arranged the blocks in order. And I already added the sprites and backdrops. So when you're starting, I want you to add your sprites. From click it, like for the first one, just click on the costumes and then delete the cat, and then add Ben A to C and Jordan A to C. And then when you're adding your second sprite, the soccer ball, add it from the right side because the soccer ball has its own separate programming. And for the backdrops, I am using soccer and soccer 2. Okay, so let's start coding. Well, let's start with the soccer player. So obviously get your when green flag clicked, and the thing is you want everything not to like disappear, so set size to 100%, and the costume should be at Ben A. And he's gonna have to be at -48 X and Y -24, so get that go to XY block. And then in controls, get a wait 1 second button. So, because in this animation, timing is really important. Then get another go to XY button, and the coordinates are -56 and -30. And looks, get a switch costume to Ben B because that's the one where he's gonna be kicking. And it's gonna wait 1.4 seconds, and the costume's gonna switch to Jordan C, and she's gonna be at 11:33. So you're gonna need the go to XY button for the last one. Then it's gonna need a glide to X -79 Y 30, and this is optional, but you can add the go cheer. So it's got a bit of a sound effect, and you can set the size to 0. So it's the next round. So you won't see the same sprite. And then switch the costume to Jordan A, and using the go to XY button, make X -55 and Y -59. And let's connect that. So when we want to set the size back to 100% so you can actually see the sprite, and wait 1 second because, as I said before, timing is very important. And then switch the costume to Jordan B because that's Jordan kicking, and wait 1.4 seconds so you can actually see the kick. And then the costume's got to switch to Ben C because actually this animation is about a kick out in soccer. So basically the players are taking turns. And now since Jordan has scored a goal, we want Ben not to be seen. We don't want the sprites to be seen, so we're going to use set size to 0. And then we're going to use the go to XY button and make it negative 42 and Y 45. And then we want Ben to be seen. Now for the soccer ball, make sure you add the sprite with the at the right side using this button. So for this one, it's a bit more different. So obviously when green flag is clicked, you always want the soccer ball to be shown. So use the show button in looks. And also in looks, you want to set the size to 100%. And the costume is going to be soccer ball. And the backdrop is going to be soccer number 2. So basically in the first program, we weren't controlling the backdrops. So in this program, we're using it, the backdrop buttons. Now using the go to XY button, we want the X to be 8 and Y to be negative 79. And then since we want the timing to be same for both the soccer ball and for the players. So wait 1.4 seconds. Then in motion, use the move 80 steps button. And to you, 80 steps might be a lot. Like it's a big distance, but in Scratch, it's really not that much. It's kind of small. Now you're gonna want to go to XY, X being 13 and Y being negative 30. And it's gonna glide, so it looks like the ball's moving. And X is gonna be 15, Y is gonna be 1. Then we want the ball to disappear and the backdrop is gonna change. And then we're gonna have the soccer ball come back. So here. And we want the soccer ball to move to a certain position. So using the go to XY button, we're gonna make X 10 and Y negative 78. So as you can see the animation, like that's how it's gonna be. And then we want to set the size back to 100 so we can see the soccer ball. And then we have to wait 1.4 or 1.40 seconds. They're the same thing. And then the ball is gonna glide for 1 second, and it's gonna glide to the coordinate X 77 and Y negative 78. And then the backdrop's actually gonna switch. Now, finally, the final 3 steps, we want the soccer ball to go to a certain point of this map over here. Basically, this is a coordinate plane. You could think of this as that, and it's got a coordinate. And I can actually move this accordingly, and over here I will see the X and Y. So yeah. So we want X to go to 18. We want X to be 18 and Y to be negative 14. And it's going to glide for 1 second to 18.7, X being 18, Y being 7. And the costume is going to be switched to soccer ball. Alright? So we've done all the programming. Let's look at the final result. So this was a bit more complicated, and it had a lot of programming in it, but the end result was very good. And please make sure you're timing, like when you're doing this program, you're timing it well. So I'd recommend, if you're interested in animation, I'd recommend that you learn Scratch first, and then you can use Khan Academy and learn a bit more animation because they have a whole course on that. Thank you for watching today's demo on animation. I hope you enjoyed it.
Jain, my name is Rashab and I'm going to be administrating the quiz for today. The quiz for today is going to be a Kahoot. You want to make sure to leave the WebEx window open, and on either a separate tab or on a separate device, type in kahoot.it. It should bring you to a screen that looks something like this. From here on out, you'd want to type in the game pin right here, which will be displayed on the WebEx meeting. After that, the questions will appear on the WebEx meeting that has the question up here and the options over here. And on your separate device or separate tab, you'll be seeing this, and then you tap the corresponding shape or color with the answer that you think is correct. Thank you, and I hope you all have fun.
Wow, friends. Wasn't that a great learning session on coding programming languages and followed by a entertaining quiz? Oh, and Mayank did made a cat fly in Galaxy. Wow. So I hope by next week, all of you might have a running program or a creative animated video. So I would like to thank today's team, Devanshu Shah, Nidhi Gandhi, Anokhi Shah, Priyansh Gandhi, Mayank Jain, and Rishabh Jain. Also thanks to our backend support, Saurabh Gandhi. Uh, on that note, I would like to thank all of you to join today's session, and we will meet on next session. So just for the reminder, next session is on Sunday and not Saturday, as we have a clash with Dhaja changing ceremony on 27th of June. Uh, so see you over in next session. But till that time, stay safe, keep exploring, keep learning. Jai Janendra.